Hey, what's happening, guys? We've got a mystery kit today. About a month ago, I got an email from an old friend of the channel, George in Oregon, and he said he had got a couple of kits and he wasn't having any luck. He said he'd like to send me one and see if I had better luck, and I even showed you a little note he enclosed here. I blanked out his phone number. I received two of these kits. Maybe you will have better luck than I. So this is a Zimimark, and yeah, I took a peek in here. It's one of those high voltage little kits. Sure packed it well, I'll tell you that much. Unfortunately, I can understand why George did not have any luck, because there is really no instructions here whatsoever. So we've got a circuit board, and it wants 3 to 5 volts in at 3 amps. We've got a 470 microfarad capacitor, a switch, a resistor, a transistor, a diode, and a transformer. So I'm imagining this is where we got our problem, was in figuring out what to do with the transformer and how it is supposed to go together. Now, I built one of these kits a couple years ago. I don't doubt it's the same exact brand, but the same type of kit. So these are your high voltage output wires here. And then these are your two externals, and this one goes in the center when you put this all together here. So let me get the soldering gear all set up, and we'll see what we can do. All right, I've got all the parts laid out. I did a little searching on that, and I found this, the Zimimark from Amazon. It is the Zimimark one set high voltage generator arc igniter lighter kit module, 3 to 5 volt, lots more words. But here is the gist of it. Here is the circuit diagram. It looks like my my toner's getting ready to head south for the winter or something there. All right, so here, this is our high voltage output over here. There's the other 3 taps there. Got a capacitor coming in off the power. Yeah, ain't much to it. So in one of the reviews, they talk about this transformer, and it says you want the coils to be visible. So that means you want to install it like this, not like that. So if we look at it on the PCB, it's going to go something like this. And I've already read how many things these wires are incredibly fragile, and of course they are all enameled, so I'm going to have to do my best to strip them off before we get started. Different ways to do it. You can do it with a knife, you can do it with sandpaper. We'll try it with one of these little fingernail file sanding stick type jobs and see if it does any good. You definitely want to support. You see I'm holding that with my finger. Yeah, you want to support the material. You don't want to be pulling this out of here because these wires are incredibly thin. Seems to be doing okay. Let's try it with a knife. See if that does any good. Like I said, there are all kinds of ways you can do this. Yeah, the knife works better than the paper. And then the last kind of thing you want to do is get your soldering iron. Get some solder. Just get a big old ball of solder on there. And you can try to burn the enamel off with the solder as well. These are all good techniques. And you can end up trying pretty much all of them until you find one that's going to work for you. So use whichever ones you have to use to get it stripped down. And that's what I'm going to do now. You don't have to watch. We'll be back when it's done. All right, I put a good 10 minutes into that. And it's taken solder now, so I think we're good. And we are definitely going to do this one first because this is, this is the most challenging of the entire board to solder. So let's get it done and out of the way. Be very gentle with the wires because I have just put a lot of work into them, and copper work hardens, so that means they have become somewhat brittle. So I don't want to yank them or bend them too abruptly or at too much of an angle right away. I want to just take it easy with them so I don't rip them out of the transformer or cause them to snap somewhere along the line, and just keep gently persuading them into position. Almost there. Yeah, I like that. Good. Now I'm even going to get the zip tie for this, because I want this thing strapped down. Of course, I could be wrong about this entire thing, and this is not why old George didn't have any luck. We'll go this way. But this is the probably most logical and obvious solution as to what was causing him some problems. And if you read the reviews of this kit, you'll see people saying that they too experience difficulties. All right, we're almost there. Almost ready to start soldering. What, probably 10 minutes into this video already, and we haven't soldered a thing yet. And that's not including the prep time and the time it took me to prepare those wires. So, I mean, I've been at it for half an hour already. You've only seen about 10 minutes. I think we're just about there. I like it. All right, let's bite that off of there and see if we can't get these guys to solder in nicely here. 1 second. All right, I've got it mounted in a little plastic vise holder thing here. We're going to throw some of Uncle Rob's Magic Solder Flux on here to give us our best chance at getting this to go. Starting with a clean tip. That's better. A little bit of solder on the tip for thermal transfer. And here we go. I'm taking longer than usual on this because I want to make sure that I'm getting a good joint. Not yet. Well, it felt like it was, you know, mechanically connected in there or whatever. It just didn't feel good to me yet. All right, next one. And I'm going to reapply the flux. If I can get the lid off. There we go. Sure we get lots of good flux on there. Clean tip. Giving it more time than usual to heat up. Then I'm applying the solder. We'll have a look. Yeah, feels pretty good. And the last one. Once again, plenty of flux. Anytime you're soldering with something that has possible corrosion or is not perfectly clean, you just start piling the flux on, baby. Because the flux cleans the metal. Solder won't stick to the dirty metal. Remember, solder likes to flow where solder's been, so it's always best to keep it clean and tin, tin, tin. Yeah. Like it. All right, let's trim it. Dink. Donk. Donk. And now that should have been the difficult part of this. Let's move along and do some of the other parts. Here we have the transistor, so I can pick it up, which goes right here. And it gets bolted down with the screw. So what I need to see is where to bend those legs. And I think I'm going to bend them right after that wide part there. I never get them straight with a pair of pliers. That's why I'm doing it by hand. It's easier for me to tweak them by hand. Yeah. See, that's going to go nicely right there. All right. Put the screw and nut in. And we really only need to put the screw in. The nut's right here. That was a joke, you know, for the humor. Yeah, you got to have that. And if you know who that is my impression of, please put it down below, because I will be unbelievably impressed. I'll give you one hint. It ain't the Steelers. All right, I'll give you one more hint. That was my best interpretation of a French Canadian. Because you know, you got to have that. Man, this one is just sucking the heat up. Ooh, boy. All right, I don't want to put too much heat on any one pin, so we'll come back to it. Wow. Like, this is just really soaking up the heat. That's kind of crazy. Let's go back and reflow these. Make sure they're looking good and whatnot. Oh, of course, Paul, you dingleberry. Oh, man, it's really soaking up the heat. Yeah, that's what that heat pad under there is for. Wow. It's true. I surprise myself with my own stupidity sometimes. All right, moving down the line. Up next is the diode, the electrical one-way valve. If we look at our diagram here, you can see the diode comes from the transformer and only allows the current to flow in this direction. So you see when you activate the switch, you're turning on the base of that transistor and allowing the oscillator to oscillate. Because you know you got to have the oscillations. You know you got to have that. All right, little Mr. Diode in place there. He probably won't soak up too much heat. No problem. This one's soldering it much easier without the giant heat sink on it. I swear, the older I get, I would say the older I get, the dumber I get, but I was pretty dumb all along. It's like the older I get, definitely the more forgetful I get. Now this is a nice big resistor. Also is going to take some heat. So what we're going to do here is we're going to space him off the board. I just need to find something. So something for a spacer here. That'll work out nicely. Then I'm just going to bend the legs out of the way. And we'll sit it down like so. And this should solder up quite nicely. No trouble soldering that. Then we can pull out our spacer. And now when you look, we have an airspace so that resistor, which is right in here, doesn't get too hot. All right, moving down the line, what is up next? We got a switcheroony here. I might swap that out for a taller one. Hang on a second. All right, so I grabbed the taller switch. Even though this is on the low side, you know, the low voltage side, just for, you know, safety reasons, I want to keep my fingers as far away as practically possible. Now, we don't have to go overboard here, but you never know. This is, after all, a $7 high voltage kit. So we'll solder up the old switcheroo here. Shouldn't be any trouble. Nah, it's going in real simple. Yeah, we are coming down the line here, folks. All right, this is the other place where you could have had some trouble, George. Soldering up this capacitor. It's an aluminum electrolytic capacitor. It is polarized. This white stripe side is the negative side, so we're going to put it over here on the striped side on the PCB. So that everything can sit real nice. And just bend those out of the way like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder them one at a time so I can make sure yeah, see, I don't want it to be all cattywampus like that. So now I'll bend that over where I want it and solder up the other one. So I spent the weekend rewatching some of my favorite movies from the 90s. All the Kevin Smith movies. Chasing Amy, Dogma, Clerks, Clerks 2, Mallrats. I like those movies, like going back in time. And finally, we are down to the power input. Oh yeah, my hand. That's just from playing with the dog. No worries. I've had her now since October 15th of 2021. She's a little over 4 years old. She was a rescue, of course. And she is just now, 2 years later, starting to feel playful and at home, and she's not worried. And I think. So we've been playing a lot more lately, and that's how I got my hand cut up. Okay, so if we look real close down here, we can see that's the plus side, and that's the minus side. So I am just going to mark the negative side for my own identification. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the other side as well. There we go. And now, in my own mind at least, I know which way to go. So, ain't nothing left to do it but plug in, right? Okay, I know it's dark. Bear with me for a minute. I got the power supply set up, 5 volts, 3 amps. I got this spacing here set at about 2 millimeters. Clip on the power. All right, let's energize. And here we go. Nothing. All right. Gonna have a look at it. There it is. I just went over the joints. I didn't have a good connection at the transformer, which I'm not surprised. I figured that would be a problem. It's very quiet. Wow, it pulls 9 watts. Check that out. But there it is, George. Let me get some lights on. Hang on one second. So, George, I suspect your problem, and anybody else who is having a problem, is just you're not getting a good connection here on the transformer. Remember, make sure you can see the coils through here and that you scraped enough of the enamel off that you're getting a good connection, and then the kit should work. So thanks for sending that, George. That was pretty cool. That was a fun kit to build today. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to all the patrons. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Check out the Patreon link down below. $1 a month is all I ask. All right, guys, that's it. I'm out. Peace.